My name is Jenna Rowland, and I'm 32 years old. If you'd asked me a few months ago to describe my life, I would have said it was solid. Not glamorous, not tragic, just steady in a way I'd worked really hard for. I have a decent job in corporate finance. I pay my bills on time. I know exactly what's in my savings account down to the cent. My idea of chaos is when my color-coded budget spreadsheet has to handle a surprise car repair. And for the past 2 years, I had been in what I thought was a real relationship with my boyfriend, Blake Carter, who's 28. From the outside, we looked good together. He's handsome in that effortless, camera-ready way, sharp jawline, styled hair, gym body. The kind of guy who always seems to catch the best lighting in every photo. I'm not that. I'm pretty enough, I guess, but mostly I'm practical. I own more blazers than bikinis. My favorite shoes are flats I can walk a mile in. Blake and I met on a dating app. He had a clean, bright feed, lots of travel photos, latte art, gym selfies, captions about chasing dreams. I thought it was a little much, but he made me laugh, and in person he was warm, charming, attentive. We moved in together after 8 months. It felt fast, but I told myself that's what people do when things are right. For a while, everything seemed normal. We shared a one-bedroom apartment, split chores, fought about stupid things like whose turn it was to take the trash out. I packed lunches, he picked restaurants, I did spreadsheets, he did stories and reels. Then there was Blake's brand. He wasn't just on Instagram, he lived there. He called himself a content creator, an aspirational lifestyle strategist with a straight face. He spent hours curating his feed, editing photos, testing filters. Every brunch, every coffee, every walk became content. And at first, I played along. I took his pictures. I waited before I ate so he could photograph the food. I tried to understand why engagement rates and save-to-like ratios mattered more than just enjoying the moment. I told myself it was harmless. Annoying sometimes, but harmless. I was wrong about that. The Instagram thing happened on a Friday night in late October. I'd just gotten home from work around 6, kicked off my heels, and grabbed a seltzer from the fridge. Blake was already on the couch, leaned back with his phone 3 inches from his face, scrolling with the kind of focus most people reserve for defusing bombs. "Hey babe, can you look at something?" he asked without looking up. "Sure," I said, dropping my bag on the dining chair. "What's up?" He turned his phone toward me. It was his Instagram profile, grid full of warm tones and cool angles. Blake at rooftop bars, Blake at coffee shops, Blake in front of murals, Blake's shoes, Blake's hands holding expensive drinks. I scrolled, and then I realized what I wasn't seeing. There were no photos of me. None. "Do you notice anything?" he asked, a little smile tugging at his mouth like he was proud of a new haircut. "You deleted all the pictures of us," I said slowly. "Yeah." He said it like we were discussing recycling. They didn't fit my aesthetic. I blinked. "Your what?" "My aesthetic," he repeated, like it should be obvious. "I'm going for a clean, cohesive vibe. Elevated. The couple shots, they just felt off-brand." Off-brand. He said it so casually I actually laughed, waiting for him to say he was joking. He didn't. "So your girlfriend is off-brand," I said. My voice came out flatter than I intended. "Jenna, don't make this a thing," he sighed. "It's not about you personally. It's about the overall look of my page." "How am I supposed to separate those?" I asked. "You erase me from your entire online presence." "It's just Instagram," he said. "You're being dramatic. People curate their feeds all the time." "Yeah," I said. "They adjust lighting. They don't erase their partner." He rolled his eyes. "You're overreacting. I'm trying to grow my following. I have to be strategic. You know I'm building something here." There it was again. The thing he said whenever I questioned a purchase, a trip, a $19 cocktail. I'm building something. I stared at his profile. Years of brunches, date nights, weekend getaways we'd shared. And you'd never know I'd been there at all. Something in my chest went cold. "Okay," I said finally. "That's it?" Blake asked. He sounded suspicious, like he'd expected tears or a fight. "Yeah," I said. I took another sip of seltzer. "Perfect, actually." "Perfect what?" he asked. "Nothing," I said. "Just perfect." He shrugged and went back to scrolling. I walked down the hallway to our bedroom, closed the door, and opened my laptop. Here's the thing about Blake's aesthetic. It was expensive. The brunch spots he tagged? $30 a plate. The coffee shops? $7 lattes. The outfits? Borrowed designer or bought on Klarna. The weekend getaways and rooftop bars and spontaneous staycations? My bank account knew every one of them. When we moved in together, we'd opened a shared account for rent and utilities. The plan was to contribute equally. In reality, Blake put in maybe $400 a month. I put in everything else. Because he was in a growth phase. Because he needed to invest in content. Because his brand would take off soon. At first, it was little things. I'd cover an Uber, a tab. Then suddenly my card was the default at restaurants. Then I gave him access to one of my personal credit cards for emergencies. Emergencies apparently included Starbucks, clothing hauls, and networking drinks. Staring at my transaction history, the pattern looked embarrassingly clear. I was funding the lifestyle that looked so aspirational on his feed. I sat there for a long minute, heartbeat loud in my ears. It wasn't rage exactly. It was more like a quiet click, like a puzzle piece finding its place. He'd erased me from the part of his life that gave him validation, but kept me in the part that paid for it. I logged into my online banking. First, I removed Blake as an authorized user on my credit card. One click, confirm, done. Then I changed the password on our shared account and transferred out exactly half of the balance, the half I'd contributed. I left his half where it was. I took screenshots of everything, mostly for myself. I stared at the confirmation screens. I didn't feel guilty. I felt steady, sharp. He doesn't fit my financial aesthetic, I thought, and the line made me snort quietly. I closed the laptop, smoothed my hair, and went back to the living room. "Hey," I said, leaning on the back of the couch. "Just so you know, I made some changes to our financial setup." Blake glanced up. "What kind of changes?" "I removed your access to my credit card," I said evenly, "and I split the shared account. Your contributions are still there. I moved mine back to my personal account." He sat up, eyes widening. "Wait, what? Why would you do that?" "Because," I said, "you don't fit my financial aesthetic." He stared at me. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." "Jenna, come on," he said, laughing once in disbelief. "You can't just cut me off because I changed my Instagram grid." "Can't I?" I asked. "You deleted me from your aesthetic. I'm deleting you from mine. Fair trade." "That's completely different," he snapped. "How?" I asked. "You told me it's just Instagram. I'm telling you it's just money." He opened his mouth, closed it, then pointed at me like he'd found his argument. "Because this is real. This affects my life, my credit, my plans. I need that card." "And I needed not to be erased from your public life," I said quietly. We both made adjustments. His face flushed. "This is petty, Jenna." "Maybe," I said, "but I'm done funding a lifestyle I'm not allowed to exist in." I grabbed my keys. "Where are you going?" he demanded. "To get some air," I said. "I'll be back later." I drove to a nearby park and sat in my car until the sky turned dark, the dashboard clock ticking softly. My phone buzzed once with a notification from my banking app. No messages from Blake. By the time I got home, the apartment was quiet. The bedroom door was shut. I slept on the couch. The next day, the consequences of my financial aesthetic adjustment finally caught up to him. At 4:13 p.m., my phone rang. Blake. I let it go to the second ring before picking up. "Hello? What did you do?" he hissed. There was noise in the background. Music, chatter, a cash register. "You'll have to be more specific," I said. "My card declined," he said. "I'm standing in the middle of Neiman Marcus with bags in my hands, and my card just got declined." "Which card?" I asked, even though I already knew. "Your card, Jenna. The one you gave me. The emergency one." His voice cracked on the word emergency, like he knew how ridiculous it sounded. "Oh," I said, "that card. Yeah, I told you yesterday. I revoked your access." "I thought you were bluffing," he snapped. "Who actually does that?" "Apparently me." "This is insane," he said. "How am I supposed to pay for anything?" "With your own money," I said. "You know, from your job." "I don't have enough in there," he said, like he expected sympathy. "Then," I said, "you can't afford it. You're being I'm being consistent," I cut in. "You set the tone last night. I'm just following your lead." There was a long pause, just the faint echo of some pop song playing over the store speakers. "I hate you right now," Blake said finally. "That's fine," I said. "You don't have to like me. You just don't get to spend my money while pretending I don't exist." He hung up. I sat at my desk, staring at my computer screen as numbers blurred and refocused. Underneath the satisfaction, something heavier settled in my chest. It wasn't that I'd cut him off. It was that, for the first time, I believed the relationship might already be over, and he just hadn't realized it yet. When I woke up Saturday morning on the couch, the apartment was silent in that strange, artificial way, like sound was holding its breath. Blake's bedroom door was still closed. I made coffee, stared at the dark liquid swirling in the mug, and waited for anything. A text, a fight, an apology, a question, something. Nothing. Part of me wondered if he was punishing me with silence the way he always did when he felt cornered. He'd done it before, gone quiet until I felt guilty enough to coax him back into talking. I used to think of it as a quirk. Now it felt like a tactic. Around noon, I grabbed my gym bag and left. A workout felt easier than lingering in that tight, airless apartment. When I returned around 2, Blake was gone. A note on the counter read, "Going shopping with Sienna. We need to talk when I'm home." Sienna. I only knew her through Blake's stories. Always the girl with glowy skin, a sculpted gym body, and a perfectly curated aesthetic that made Blake's eyes light up in a way mine never did. She worked at his gym, did fitness influencer collabs, and somehow always managed to look professionally effortless. She fit his aesthetic. I stared at the note for a moment, then texted my friend Talia. Me. He went shopping with Sienna. Talia. The one with the neon sports bra collection? Me. That's the one. Talia. Girl. Good luck. At 4:37 p.m. my phone rang. Blake. I let it buzz twice before answering. Hello? What did you do? His voice cracked with outrage, echoing faintly through some department store acoustics. You're going to have to be more specific, I said, leaning on the kitchen counter. My card declined, in front of Sienna, at Nordstrom. Do you understand how humiliating that was? I understand your spending exceeded your resources, I said calmly. Jenna, stop talking like a banker. I'm standing here with bags in my hands like an idiot. Use your own money, I repeated. I don't have enough. Then you can't afford it. You're being impossible, he snapped. You can't just cut off your boyfriend financially because you're mad about Instagram. You erased me from your public life, I said quietly. I erased you from my budget. There was a long silence. Somewhere behind him, a woman's voice drifted through, probably Sienna asking if everything was okay. He lowered his voice. You're going to regret this, he said. And then he hung up. I stood there, the phone still pressed to my ear, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and sorrow twist inside me, like a rope pulling in 2 directions. Hours later, Blake came home. He slammed the front door so hard a picture frame rattled. He marched into the living room, dropped 2 shopping bags, Sienna's brand, not his, and crossed his arms. This is ridiculous, he announced. You said that already, I replied. Because it is. He paced. He always paced when he needed to feel taller. You can't punish me financially because you're insecure about Instagram. Insecure? I asked softly. You erased me from your feed. It's not personal. It is to me. He stopped pacing. We live together. We share expenses. This affects both of us. We did share expenses, I corrected. Now we each handle our own. What about rent? He demanded. My half is due on the 1st. Then you'll pay it on the 1st. I don't have that much in my account. That sounds like a planning problem. His mouth fell open. Jenna, you can't seriously expect me to adjust my entire lifestyle overnight. Yes, I said, I can. He stared at me like I'd just committed a crime. You know, he said quietly, I have options. Oh? I raised an eyebrow. There are people, women, who would be thrilled to be with me, women who appreciate what I bring to the table. Then date them, I said. He blinked. Maybe I will. Let me know when you move out. A beat passed. 2, 3. You're breaking up with me over this? He asked. You broke up with me the moment you decided your image mattered more than I did. He didn't have an answer. He stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door, and the apartment went silent again. Sunday was quiet. Blake stayed in the bedroom almost all day. I cooked, cleaned, meal prepped, did laundry. Every task felt clearer without walking on eggshells. When Monday came, I went to work like usual. Numbers steadied me the way they always do. Predictable, rational, clean. When I got home around 6, Blake was sitting on the couch, dressed nicely, hair perfect, as if he'd rehearsed looking remorseful. We need to talk, he said. Okay. He took a slow breath. I think you're overreacting, but I understand why you're upset. How generous of you. I'm trying to apologize, he snapped. I'm listening, I said. He swallowed. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have deleted the photos without telling you first. And I'm sorry I said you didn't fit my aesthetic. That was rude. That was hurtful, I corrected. He nodded stiffly. So, can we move past this now? Can you add me back to the credit card? No. His face froze. What do you mean no? I apologized. This isn't about punishment, I said. It's a correction. A correction? Jenna, this is insane. You were using my money for things that had nothing to do with us, I said. You were funding your brand with my income. That's how partnerships work. Not this partnership. He stood up. You've changed. I've gotten honest, I said. I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm the woman who finally realized she deserves more than being a blurred background in your life. His jaw tightened. He stormed into the bedroom again. Tuesday evening, when I walked through the door, Blake was dressed like he was going to a gala. Pressed shirt, cologne, hair sharp enough to cut glass. Where are you going? I asked. Out. With who? Does it matter? I guess not. He grabbed his keys dramatically. Sienna, he said finally, we're getting dinner. Okay. You're not going to ask why? No. You're not jealous? No. He blinked, caught off guard. Most girlfriends would care, he pushed. I'm not most girlfriends, I said, and I'm not sure I'm your girlfriend at all. He actually laughed. You're not sure? Are you? He hesitated. That hesitation was the truth. Then he closed the door behind him. He returned around midnight. I was reading on the couch when he walked in, smelling like expensive perfume that wasn't mine. Fun night? I asked. Yeah, actually. Good. He kicked off his shoes, then sank into the armchair across from me. You're not even going to ask what we did? You went to dinner, I said. You already told me. He waited. Wanted a reaction. Craved it. Sienna said I'm the most attractive guy she's worked with, he said. That's nice. She wants to take me to Napa next weekend. You should go. He stared at me, searching for the moment where I'd crack, cry, beg. It didn't come. You don't even care, he whispered. You've spent the last 3 days making it clear I'm not what you want, I said. I'm just removing myself from the equation. Silence stretched long and thin between us. You're supposed to fight for me, he said. Why? I asked softly. You deleted me. He had no answer. Wednesday, I came home to find the apartment half empty. His closet, half cleared. His drawers, half open, half barren. His side of the bathroom counter, spotless. He'd left a single text. Staying with Sienna for a while. Need space. I typed. Okay, let me know about the lease. A minute later. That's it? Just okay? What else do you want me to say? He didn't respond. The truth settled over me then, heavy but clean. He wanted space. He wanted options. He wanted a life that photographed well. I wasn't part of that frame anymore. And maybe, I finally realized, I never really had been. By Thursday evening, the apartment felt like a hotel room someone else had checked out of. Empty spaces where Blake's things used to be. Silence where his music used to blast. The scent of his cologne fading from the hallway. I told myself I was fine. I even told myself this was the cleanest version of a breakup I'd ever experienced. No screaming, no plates thrown, no dramatic exits. But the truth hit a little differently when everything went quiet. I made myself dinner, watched half a documentary, tried to read, tried to sleep. At 9:12 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hey, this is Eli. Can we talk? I frowned. I didn't know any Eli. Me, who is this? Eli. Sorry. Sienna's boyfriend. Well, ex? I don't know anymore. She posted a bunch of stories this week with some guy named Blake. She said you two broke up 2 weeks ago. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. Me, we didn't. Eli. Yeah, I'm figuring that out. Look, this is messy, but I just wanted to tell you something. Your boyfriend, ex, has been telling people some stuff about you. I exhaled slowly. Here it comes. Me, what kind of stuff? Eli. That you're controlling. That you cut him off financially to punish him. That you were obsessed with keeping him from growing his brand. For a moment, I couldn't even respond. Not because I was surprised, but because I wasn't. Me. He said all that? Eli. Yeah. Sienna told her gym friends the same story. It got back to my girlfriend. Now she thinks I'm cheating because of those stories with Blake. This whole thing is a disaster. I rubbed a hand across my forehead. Blake always hated taking accountability. It made sense he'd rewrite the narrative the second it benefited him. Eli. Look, sorry to dump all this. Just thought you should know. Good luck. Me. You too, thanks, Eli. I stared at our message thread for a long moment before taking screenshots. Dozens of emotions swirled inside me. Anger, clarity, grief, relief. But one settled more heavily than all the others. Validation. This wasn't my fault. Blake had been constructing a story long before I cut the card. I didn't give myself time to think. I dialed Blake. He answered on the second ring, breathless, like he'd been waiting for my call. Jenna. I talked to Eli, I said. Silence. What? He asked carefully. Eli, I repeated. Sienna's boyfriend. He let out a messy exhale. I can explain. You told him we broke up 2 weeks ago. We were basically broken up, he argued. You were pulling away. Blake, I said, You told people I was controlling and financially abusive. He went dead quiet. Is that what you really think I am? I asked. No, he snapped quickly. Jenna, that's not... Okay, listen, I just framed things in a certain way so people wouldn't think you kicked me out. You framed yourself as the victim, I corrected. No, he said defensively. I framed it so my brand wouldn't take a hit. And there it was. Not even shame, not regret, just PR strategy. Do you hear yourself? I asked. Look, I didn't mean it literally, he said. It's just people online don't understand nuance. I needed a simple narrative. You mean a lie? It's not a lie, he insisted. It's just context. You deleted me from your Instagram. You used my money to fund your content. You went out with Sienna, who had a boyfriend, and you let her post stories that made you look single. Then you told people I was abusive so you wouldn't look bad. His voice cracked. Jenna, please, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I asked. He hesitated, like he was pulling a handful of excuses together and weighing which sounded least incriminating. I panicked, he finally said. I didn't know how to explain everything without people assuming the worst. So you made me the villain. He didn't argue, didn't deny, didn't defend. He just exhaled, a defeated, ugly, confirming sound. There was a long pause. Jenna, he said quietly, can we fix this? Just come over, or let me come home. We can talk in person. No, I said. His voice splintered. Why not? Because I finally believe you when you show me who you are. Jenna, please, he whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes. Bring back your key, I said, this weekend, and take the rest of your things. What? He rasped. I already talked to the landlord. Your name is being removed from the lease. You... His voice cracked into disbelief. You already did that? Yes. You're really doing this? He whispered. Yes. But I love you. No, Blake, I said softly. You love being seen. You love being admired. You love being funded. He didn't speak. I was never your girlfriend, I said. I was your stability, your sponsor, your aesthetic safety net. Jenna, please. Goodbye, Blake. I hung up. This time I didn't cry. Not because I didn't care, but because somewhere along the way, I'd stopped grieving the relationship. I'd started grieving the illusion I had mistaken for one. Saturday afternoon, Blake arrived with a mutual friend and a U-Haul. I stayed in the bedroom. I heard boxes being stacked, closet doors opening, closing, footsteps, quiet laughter, whispers. At one point, Blake's voice drifted down the hallway. Just don't say anything to her, he muttered. She's in a mood. I almost laughed. When they finished, I heard footsteps approaching the kitchen. A soft clink, the sound of metal on stone. When they left, I came out. Blake's key sat on the counter. Next to it, a note in his looping handwriting. I really am sorry. I hope you find someone who deserves you. I folded the note once, then dropped it directly into the trash. No hesitation. No second thoughts. No heartbreak. Just closure. Or something like it. By Sunday morning, the apartment felt like it had exhaled. Space where Blake's sneakers used to pile up. A clear bathroom counter, a closet that finally closed without a fight. I opened all the windows and let the cool air sweep through the rooms, carrying away the last traces of his cologne and self-importance. Then I deep-cleaned the place. Vacuumed behind furniture Blake never moved. Scrubbed the kitchen grout he never noticed. Wiped down the bathroom mirror he always smudged. It was strangely therapeutic, like I was washing the last year off the walls, rinsing the residue of someone else's priorities out of my life. Every swipe of a cloth felt like a sentence. This is mine now. This space belongs to me again. This life belongs to me again. By the time I finished, the apartment looked brighter, wider, honest. Monday morning, while waiting for my coffee order, my phone buzzed. Talia, have you seen Blake's Instagram today? My stomach didn't drop, didn't twist, didn't even flicker. Instead, I inhaled slowly and typed, me, no, why? Talia, girl, go look. Against my better judgment, I opened the app and typed his name into the search bar. He hadn't blocked me, not yet. His newest post had gone up 2 hours earlier. A clean, moody, over-edited shot of him at some scenic overlook, leaning against a railing with a distant, brooding expression. The caption was a full paragraph. Sometimes walking away from toxicity is the biggest act of self-love. Grateful for my growth. Grateful for my clarity. Grateful for the strength to remove myself from controlling people who don't support my dreams. Hundreds of comments already. You're so strong. Proud of you for getting out. You deserve better. Never let anyone dim your light. I stared at the words, at his carefully crafted victimhood, at the audacity of his narrative. I actually laughed. Out loud. In the middle of the cafe. A few people looked over, startled. I didn't care. I scrolled a little more. Another post from earlier that morning. Him at a gym, lifting dramatically with a caption about rebuilding after being drained. Another story. Him and Sienna clinking green smoothies with the text, "New beginnings." Of course. Of course he was leaning into the aesthetic of reinvention. I didn't comment. Didn't watch all the stories. Didn't even feel tempted to defend myself. Instead, block. One clean tap and he vanished. Like he had deleted me, I deleted him. Except mine wasn't about an aesthetic. Mine was about peace. 2 weeks passed. Real, blissful, unexpectedly quiet weeks. I cooked what I liked. I exercised when I wanted. I binged 3 documentaries without someone complaining they were killing the vibe. I read books in silence. I grocery shopped without feeling judged for buying generic brands instead of $9 almond milk. For the first time in months, my savings account didn't feel like it was bleeding. I even started sleeping better, deeper, undisturbed by late-night DM notifications or ring lights turning on at 1 a.m. One Thursday afternoon, I stopped at a coffee shop after work. As I waited for my drink, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned. Tori, one of Blake's old gym acquaintances. Friendly, stylish, always polite. "Hey," she said hesitantly. "Do you have a minute?" "Sure," I said carefully. She shifted her tote bag. "I just wanted to say I know what really happened, with you and Blake." "Oh?" I said. She nodded. "Yeah, Sienna told everyone a version that made Blake sound like this wounded angel. But then Eli's girlfriend reached out to me. And then some of Blake's old friends started whispering about how you always paid for everything." Her face softened. "I'm sorry he's been telling people you were controlling. Everyone who knows you knows that's not true." "Thank you," I said quietly. "It's just," she exhaled. "Watching him is exhausting. Everything is about the image, the brand, the followers, the aesthetic. It's like he doesn't even know what's real anymore." I smiled sadly. "Yeah, I lived with that for a long time." "You dodged a bullet," Tori said with a small laugh. "A really well-lit, heavily filtered bullet." That made me laugh too. We chatted for a moment longer before she left. And as I walked home, something in me felt lighter. The truth was making its way through the cracks. Quietly, slowly, but surely. Not because I defended myself. Not because I corrected the narrative, but because lies never hold up under their own weight. A month later, I fell into a comfortable rhythm. I picked hobbies I hadn't touched since my 20s. I joined a tennis league. I took a Saturday morning pottery class. I cooked new recipes. I rearranged the furniture. I opened the blinds and let the light pour in. I didn't miss Blake. I missed the version of myself I used to be. The woman who dimmed her own preferences so someone else's spotlight could shine brighter. The woman who accepted less than she deserved because she didn't want to seem demanding. The woman who mistook someone else's ambition for shared direction. I wasn't that woman anymore. Then, one quiet Tuesday evening, I got a notification. Venmo request. $2,400 from Blake Carter. I actually snorted. The description read, "Your half of rent and utilities for the last 3 months. The months he didn't actually pay. The months I covered. The months he was taking my credit card to brunch." My thumb hovered over decline. Then I added a note. "Doesn't fit my financial aesthetic. Decline." 30 seconds later, "User has blocked you." I laughed until my stomach hurt. It felt like the final thread snapping, a tiny, ridiculous detail that released the last bit of tension I'd been holding on to. I have only one photo left of us. Just one, buried deep in an old folder I haven't opened in months. We're at a hiking trail, probably the only time his phone wasn't between us. I'm smiling in a way that looks real. He's smiling in a way that looks posed. I keep it not because I want him back, not because I'm nostalgic, not because I miss the aesthetic we pretended to have, but because I want to remember something important. What I looked like when I was settling. What my face looked like before I realized I deserved a life that didn't need filters, edits, or curated angles. I'm the main character in my own story now. And the best part? There isn't a single photo I need to delete to make it true.